All right, joining us now, he's been very patient. Scott, we really appreciate it. We had some voters on here that took some time while you were on hold. Scott McKay is with us. He's a contributor and an editor to the American Spectator, to the Hayride. He's very well versed in the primaries, and he's also the publisher of Hayride, which offers news and commentary on Louisiana, of all places. Go Tigers and national politics. He's also a novelist.
There you go.
And check out his first book, Animus, Tale of Ardinia, available on Kindle and paperback. Hey, Scott, you're with Curtis Ellis and Tony Angelini. Great to have you with us, Scott.
Hey, guys.
Okay, excellent.
Can you hear me?
Scott, yes.
Oh, yeah.
You're loud and
Thanks.
Hi,
clear.
Scott.
We called you up because Jenny Cavalver sent a email out to me and a couple other people, and you had some very interesting analysis on the Democratic primary here. Here's what we see on the ground. Biden tanking, there's no question, Scott. This is going to be a catastrophe for Biden. Klobuchar gaining,
Right.
Mayor Pete gaining. Sanders has got a base, but it's a rock. We don't think it's growing. Scott, what's happening? Give us your analysis.
Well, my analysis would be that Buttigieg is taking Biden's support, and Klobuchar is taking Liz Warren's support. And Biden and Warren are dying out fairly quickly. Probably won't even make it to Super Tuesday, either one. And then the question is, when his campaign really gets going, is Mini Mike Bloomberg going to be able to buy the nomination? Which, if you've got Klobuchar in there, I don't think that Bloomberg can do it, because nobody really wants to vote for Bloomberg. And if it's his whole thing is, it's got to be him or Sanders, and then people will hold their nose and go for Bloomberg if they're not a communist. And that's I don't know that that's going to work out for him. He's certainly going to spend enough money to make a nice run at it. But the problem is, you do need to be likable if you want to get elected. And when you have to spend $150 a vote to get reelected in New York as the mayor, it's kind of an indication you're not likable.
You bring up a very good point. This is Curtis Ellis with America First. I was in New York, watched that third election, that third term election. He spent $150 per vote, and really, in all fairness, barely got reelected.
In New York.
Exactly.
In New York. He
Right.
was running against Freddie Ferrer. Everybody thought Bloomberg was a shoo-in. Bloomberg bought every consultant on the field, took them off the field. So Freddie Ferrer his opponent could not get talent on his campaign. The unions sat on their hands because they didn't want to get on the wrong side of Mike, because they assumed he would win re-election. He barely won re-election. They woke up and said, my gosh, if we'd actually turned out the vote, the teachers union, the garbage union, the city workers, we could have gotten a Democrat elected.
Yep. And now he's a Democrat, which is, I find it hilariously funny. He one of the things he's doing now is he's running around the country buying up African American mayors.
Right.
Look, if it comes down to Buttigieg, Bloomberg, and Bernie, then it's probably a pretty good strategy for him to do that, because I think Bernie's probably a tough sell to the black vote, and I know Buttigieg is a tough sell to the black vote. So if you're Bloomberg, then, go and buy it up. The problem is you've got to get somebody willing to vote for you to begin with.
The dogs won't eat the food.
Scott, so he's to your point about and Kurz about buying everything up. So we've got people. We had Mayor Michael Nutter on the other day as campaign chairman, and he said we got 2,050 people in the field. Think about that, Scott. 2,050 people hired in the field. The operatives that I'm talking to in Virginia that were getting $2,000 a month with Campaign A are getting $6,000 a month with Bloomberg and doing the same job. And they're like, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. But he's buying everybody up at the height of the Trump campaign, at the height of the on Super Tuesday, we had 52 full-time people. 52 in the entire campaign. He's got 2,050. He's buying everybody up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing of it is that those guys are going to take those. I mean, they're going to cash those checks, and they're going to, do the work. But, you bought these people up. Did they show up at a, campaign office saying, I love me some Mike Bloomberg, give me a job? And the answer to that is no. So, I don't know that he has any real organic support. Now, in a race like the Democrats have, it might not matter, right? I mean, if nobody's excited about any of the candidates, then, you can manufacture a little excitement if somebody pays you. I'm trying to remember what the line was from Ghostbusters that Ernie Hudson says, if there's enough money in it, I'll believe anything you say, And I think that's probably Bloomberg's support. I mean, you're in a party full of people that, never liked you. Now you could make the analogy to Trump and you can do all of that. And yeah, I mean, I can see that, the argument being made. The difference is, Donald Trump made a transaction with the conservative movement, right? He said, look, you're probably not going to agree that I'm one of you, but if you vote for me, I'll govern as a conservative. Right?
That's true.
And
he did.
And he's held up that end of the bargain, which is why, you've got so many people. Look, I'll count myself as one. I was a Ted Cruz guy. I couldn't believe how terrible Trump was in the primary. I was like, I'll never vote for this guy. And then, when the election came along in November that year, I'm like, well, I certainly can't vote for Hillary. And well, I'm not even going to use the word, but the Egg McMuffin guy did not do anything for me. Neither did Gary Johnson's like, well, I guess I'm stuck with Trump. And, at first I thought it was really entertaining that he managed to win. Then I sat back and watched the guy govern. I was like, oh, my God. This guy's done all the things every other guy over there has promised and broken the promises for years.
Welcome to the movement. And I'm sorry that we kicked Ted Cruz's ass in the primaries and booed him out of the convention. I just wanted to say that.
Well,
hey, Scott, look.
Yeah, but everybody loves each other now, and that's all.
That's right. That's right. It's all that matters. All's well that ends well.
We even like Heidi Goldman Sachs Cruz. Hey, let me just ask you this: you got a line in here, Scott. It's so funny. It says. You were talking about Pocahontas, and you said, but if Liz Warren, who hilariously was crushed in Pocahontas County, Iowa last week, I didn't realize she got crushed in Pocahontas.
Yeah, she came in like 5th in Pocahontas County, Iowa.
That's bad. I mean, that is
bad. So there's sometimes things that you just can't sell, and you just can't sell Liz Warren.
Why is she tanking here in New Hampshire?
I don't know. My guess is there's probably a lot of Democrats. Well, this is Liz Warren's major problem, okay? If you're a communist, you'd rather vote for Bernie than Liz Warren because Bernie's been, he's walked with you as a communist like all his life, right?
Right.
And if you're not a communist, along comes Amy, and it's like, well, if I really, 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 really have to vote for a Democrat woman senator, I'll vote for Amy instead of Liz Warren because I'm not a communist, right? I mean, she's squeezed between the communists and the intersectional feminists, and then there's that other, kind of lingering thing of, you tried to make yourself out as an affirmative action baby, and you were not.
Right. There's a whole,
and it's like the original sin of her presidential candidacy as a Democrat. I mean, you could probably make sort of a based Republican thing if you were Liz Warren and you were a conservative, is to say, yeah, as affirmative action things are BS, so I took advantage of it. What are you going to do? Sue me? And everybody would be like, good for you.
Yeah.
But as a Democrat, it just doesn't
say that.
work. Right.
She just can't say that.
I mean, I'm looking forward to the day that somebody runs as a Republican and said, yeah, that's right. I got into Harvard because I said I was an Aleutian Indian. What are they going to do? Take my degree back?
All right, so listen, Scott, we got to go over these other candidates. So we're in Exeter, New Hampshire, and so everybody we got this a couple couples on here the past 2 days that, I mean, I got to tell you, Scott McKay, they were like I was saying earlier. They were Joe Biden's constituency made out of a petri dish.
Right,
I mean,
right. Lab-created specimens.
Joe Biden.
Just pull lever.
Genetically engineered Biden voters. And they won't, the dogs won't eat it.
They got him, like, both of them were like, he's behind Yang. And they're voting. And they were bred to vote for Joe Biden. What has happened to the Biden campaign, Scott?
Well, I mean, I guess there's only so many dog-faced pony soldiers that you can find on, when it gets cold outside. I don't know. I mean, look, they have tried very, very, very hard to polish that thing. And
polish that thing. I know what you mean there.
Cannot be polished. I mean, this is not his first rodeo. This guy has run for president like 9 times.
And he's lost every time.
I mean, I barely even made it to post on any of the 9 and never could raise any money. And there's a reason for that. Because if you're some billionaire and he wants to hit you up for $100,000 and he gets on the phone with you, in 20 seconds, you're going to be looking at the phone like it came from another planet going, this guy wants to be president? I'm not paying for that. And that's the reason that he never got anywhere. And, they're so hard up to find anybody that looks like a leader that they said, well, he was the vice president, so I guess he's got to be, and so they try to put him out there, and the same people that they called up trying to raise money are like, no. And the voters are like, no. And I mean, it's one thing 6 months before Iowa when you put a poll out there, and it's more of a name recognition poll than anything else.
Right. Exactly right.
And Joe Biden looks okay in that. And they're like, well, I don't like Trump. I'm not voting for Trump, so I guess it's Biden because he's the guy I know. And then he gets in a bunch of debates, and you find he's the dumbest guy on the stage. And they're like, well, I'm not voting for that guy. I don't know who I'm voting for. And then, that's how you fade away, is because people, they put you up against other candidates who are, probably have a good 25 IQ points on you, and that's it.
So Scott writes.
I mean, Joe Biden has always been a dumb guy, okay?
That's right.
He has been a gaffe machine. I mean, even if you get past all of the, the Indians at the 7-Elevens and all the other stuff that this guy has said over the years, you still can go back to his voting record. This guy has been wrong about everything.
Everything.
Since the Alaska pipeline in the early 70s, this guy has a non-broken string of stupid calls, that you go back and look at history, like, nope, Joe Biden would have screwed that up too. And then
basically, whatever Joe Biden says, you do the opposite. You want to do the opposit. That'll be the right position.
You're going to get a good solid B+ if that's your rule. Okay, I mean, I can tell you.
Against the Alaska pipeline.
He was against the Alaska pipeline?
It was like one of the only votes against the Alaska pipeline.
I mean, that's Joe Biden.
It's like 1973 when he got there. Scott,
it's bad for the caribou, and the caribou are like, it's warm around here. I like this thing.
Scott writes in his column, Scott, this made me laugh. He says, Joe Biden, actually, there's nothing to watch here.
There's nothing to watch here.
Well, we know that. I mean, we saw a few events.
That wasn't me. I got to give that one to John Hinderaker from Powerline because I quoted him from that. But I mean, Hinderaker nailed that. He's like, yeah, we don't have to worry about that. Biden. He's got plenty of nothing.
All right,
and we always knew that was true.
Okay, we're with Scott McKay, and Scott is he's the editor of, what are you editor of?
I'm the publisher and editor of the Hayride, which we do Southern politics, and then I write the column at the American Spectator.
Okay, good. All right, and you're also an author of a book. What's your book title again?
Animus: A Tale of Ardinia, which is I'm doing a whole series, and it's kind of one of the Amazon reviews had sort of an interesting take. They said it was a cross between Game of Thrones and Atlas Shrugged, which you do sort of a fantasy thing, and then you get to inject all kind of social commentary on it, and then say, well, it's just a book, it's just a story, right? It's about good guys and like a Western civilization versus not. and sort of, how the Western civilization responds to challenges that aren't all that different from some of the things that we'll see from time to time in our own headlines.
All right, so let's get to Mayor Pete. Now, you haven't give your analysis of him. We got a couple of voters. We went to an event of his yesterday, not packed like Amy's today.
Capacity. Fire marshal, shut it down.
Amy's got people standing outside now. It looks like a mini Trump rally. They can't get in to wherever she has it. They're over capacity. So, Mayor Pete, is he the savior of the Dems, Scott?
Well, I think you have, for some cultural reasons, I think you're going to have a real problem with Buttigieg in the black community. And if I was advising him, I would do everything I can to get him to stop talking about religion, because there is nobody more obnoxious than this guy when he starts trying to tell Christians that they're not actually Christian because they take the Bible too literally on the subject of homosexuality. That is just not going to go over well. I mean, I don't think this is a country full of homophobes, but people don't want to get into a scriptural discussion with somebody who's, no, the Bible doesn't have anything bad to say about gay people and you shouldn't judge. Nobody wants to hear that. They want to not talk about homosexuality.
They want to not talk about it. The old saying, you don't talk about politics and you don't talk about religion. Here's a politician talking about religion.
I think you're running for president.
I think, you know what? Now that you mention that, and I'm a pro-gay rights, pro-gay marriage Republican, Scott, and I've been for 40 years, and I've been kicked out of a bunch of Republican parties as a result of that. But something always... I felt uncomfortable when he was doing that. I really couldn't put my finger on it. But now that you said that, that is kind of annoying. Like, I'm pro-gay rights. I get what you're doing. I'm for you. I fought for you. I've given you marriage. Just get out of my face now. Like, leave me alone. Right. I left you alone. Leave me alone. Don't be telling me what my Catholic faith says. I got to deal with that myself. It is kind of annoying. But he seems now to be but why does he have 0% of the black vote? What's up with that?
Well, look, black people, I mean, I don't want to overgeneralize here, but I think that this is more true than not. In the black community, there is a lot of traditional culture, and I mean, I don't think that, you get quite as much pro-gay stuff going on in the black community as you had. I mean, you got a lot of fire and brimstone on Sunday at the church. And, you put that out there, like, okay, well, we're all going to vote for, the guy who has a husband. And everybody in that church is being like, I don't want to do that. And, of course, it comes along at a really bad time because the black community is warming up pretty good to Donald Trump, I mean, he's got very good, for a Republican, better than very good approval numbers in the black community. And I think culturally a lot of what Trump does resonates a little bit. I mean, he tees it high and lets it fly. And, that's something that within that culture is, that's what you do. And I think there's a connection there. Whereas if you run somebody who is much, much more amenable to sort of the, suburban, upscale, enlightened white people, and doesn't have an ability to communicate in the black community, you're going to bleed a lot of votes there. And look, if Donald Trump could get 15, 18, 20% of the black vote in November,
it's a landslide.
Every purple state is red, and lots of blue states are purple.
Yeah, and I think he got 8% last time. I think this time he's going to get 12%, and I think he's going to get 16% of black males. That's if he can do that, then it changes American politics. Now, let me ask you this, Scott McKay. We've only got a couple more minutes. Number one, there is a line for Amy Klobuchar. Now, how many of these have we been to, guys, in the past 2 weeks?
Too many.
12 or
I can't even.
15.
We've lost count.
Scott, we have been at we have been in 16 cities on our bus tour through Iowa, stumping Iowa and New Hampshire.
I mean, if they put the name of a candidate on it, we went to the opening of an envelope.
We went
did.
to Iowa. We saw all the candidates. We've never, other than a concert or something for Bernie with AOC, we've never seen this phenomenon. 3 o'clock afternoon, people
on
getting
a weekday.
off work
On a weekday.
in Exeter, and there was a line out the door. People trying to get in to see Amy Klobuchar. Scott, I'm telling you, something's happening here.
Well, the non-Bernie vote has to accumulate on somebody's behalf, right?
Right.
And what you're telling me is that it could very well be Amy's. And if that's the case, I wouldn't have thought that she would have been the one that would catch fire, because she's not a catch fire type of candidate. But
No.
if you don't have anybody, then yeah, it's certainly something. She kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Paul Tsongas. Back in the day, it was like, well, how did this happen? And it's like, well, it just happened. And it's like, well, okay.
It just happened.
Whether that campaign has enough, of a skeleton that they can make it to Super Tuesday and sustain momentum, or can raise enough money to get on TV. Or
if she finishes third, okay. So we've got 2 minutes. Let's go through the scenarios. Make a prediction, and I'm going to go around the room. I'm going to start right now. I think it's going to be Bernie, Pete, Amy, and I think Biden's going to finish fifth. And I think the big story is going to be Amy. But I guess at 8:05, Pete will just claim victory no matter what the outcome is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Pete claims victory. He and the media goes along with it. If Bernie doesn't get double-digit lead over Pete, the whole story is going to be Pete surging.
Right, Pete. Scott, do you share Curtis
I'm with
and
you.
Tony's view?
I'm with you.
Yeah, that the
yeah.
DNC is going to steal the thing from Bernie no matter what happens.
You mean the whole thing? Yeah, they're going to. The question is whether they can do it without going public and saying we're just not nominating a communist. Sorry, because that's the real future of the Democrat Party, is whether they do that or not. Because if they don't, sooner or later they're going to nominate a communist, and I think that's the end of them. So, but yeah, New Hampshire, I think you've got exactly right. I think it's Bernie, Pete, Amy, Warren, and Biden.
What happens to Warren after that?
Does nothing in South Carolina, then goes away.
What happens to Biden?
Same thing.
So Biden's out before Super Tuesday.
Maybe not, but I mean, it's just whenever he runs out of money, because nobody's going to give him any more.
Wow.
Right. He could evaporate in South Carolina.
So if that happens, Amy goes on, and then it's Biden. Biden's out. Pocahontas is out. So now you got Bloomberg. What about Steyer? Could he win South Carolina? What's up with that?
Doubt it. I doubt it. I think there may be people voting for Steyer, saying they're going to vote for Steyer, but when they're going to get in the booth, and they'll find somebody else.
Yeah. All right. Scott McKay, we had so much fun with you. Scott, I want you to stay on the line. Al Green, my producer, is going to get your mobile number for us so we can stay in touch, and your email. So stay on with Al. And, Scott, I really enjoyed it. Thank you for your patience. You made us laugh. We had such a good time.
Yeah, no problem.
Curtis.
No problem.
From Exeter, New Hampshire,